I was not familiar with Sam Cooke, so I had to look him up, and find out a little bit about him. And oh my goodness, what an amazing man, And not only that, his whole thing launched when he was not allowed to spend the night in a hotel in Louisiana. Now, don't misunderstand me. It could have been Louisiana. It could have been any state down there. Don't misunderstand me. But he was not allowed. And at that point, that really touched him. It changed the direction of his life. And he began to write songs. And he became very active in the civil rights in the mid-'60s. And died at a very young age. I don't remember exactly how he died, but he died at a young age. So I had to look him up. I really was embarrassed that I didn't know who Sam Cooke was. Everybody out there probably knows him but me, But anyway, what an amazing man. And so, anyway, maybe that's the lesson, and we just take the offering. Who knows? So, anyway, I want to just tell you, I had a couple of things I want to share with you. On the first day of school, a first grader handed his teacher a note from his mother. The note said, "The opinions expressed by this child are not necessarily those of his parents." Okay, I can imagine that. And a little girl had just completed her first week of school. She told her mom, "I'm just wasting my time. I can't read, I can't write, and they won't let me talk." So anyway. Oh, my goodness. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're with us this morning. I hope you're enjoying the book, Discover the Power Within. It's an amazing book, and it's a book, as I've shared, it's transformed my life. It really has changed so much about my life. And we just got his picture up here. I wanted you to see what he looked like, and also the cover of the book as well. And so I know we're doing some small groups, and we're building community through those small groups, and I'm attempting to talk about it on Sunday morning. I wish I had selected any other chapter than the one I selected. I'm talking on the law of nonresistance today. I know nothing about the law of nonresistance. I seem to resist everything, and I've certainly had my opportunity for practice this past year. I've certainly had that opportunity, with our... First of all, I just want to also just kind of swing my attention over here and say, wasn't it great to have full accessibility to our platform this morning? Wasn't it great to have that full accessibility, and it's just wonderful that we can all participate now on this platform because of that accessibility. Anyway, if those of you have not noticed, we're in the process of renovation, and one of the things that's really been interesting for me is the delays that we've experienced. Have you noticed that? And I have resisted every one of them. There's nothing about that non-resistance on me. I was like, why, where, what? Forget accepting what is. Forget it, I need to resist. And of course, you and I both know, as we resist, thank you, someone's been to Unity 101. What we resist persists in our life. And so it's so important for us to attempt and to practice this spiritual law of non-resistance. I have prepared a lesson, and believe me, it has prepared me. We explore this morning Jesus' most challenging and yet liberating teaching, the law of non-resistance. It is not a law of weakness, but of spiritual strength. It's from the deep knowing that God is the only power and the presence in the universe. Wow. Why can't I remember that? That there is a divine order unfolding exactly the way it's supposed to unfold. If it was supposed to be different, it would be. It would be. This is what it is. The scripture I'm going to use is from Matthew 5:38 through 42. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Wow, it's interesting that we all know that one, isn't it? But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other one also. Diddly squat. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, so also the second mile. Jesus wasn't asking us to submit to injustice or becoming doormats. He was revealing a spiritual law. What you resist, you strengthen. When you meet aggression with aggression, fear with fear, or judgment with judgment, you multiply the very energy you oppose. Non-resistance is not passive acceptance of wrong. It is the active presence and practice of peace. In seeing beyond appearance and recognizing the Christ in the other, even in the midst of conflict. Non-resistance. Recognizing the Christ in the other, even when there is conflict. Mr. Butterworth says, non-resistance is the key to the kingdom because it puts you in tune with the creative flow of the universe. Stop pushing against life. The moment you cease resisting, you are in the flow of God's good. When you resist evil, you perpetuate it. And when you transmute it through love, you dissolve it. Butterworth reminds us that resistance cuts us off from divine flow. When we surrendered, not to the world, but when we surrender to the presence within, we become channels of divine power, and peace becomes possible even in chaos. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of our Unity movement, says this: non-resistance is one of the greatest laws of the universe. It is a state of mind that sees God in everything and refuses to fight against conditions. That's a quote from Keep a True Lent. Mr. Fillmore understood that spiritual mastery doesn't come from overcoming others, but it's the mastery of overcoming our own actions and reactions. When we stop fighting the circumstances, we begin transforming them through consciousness. Imelda Octavia Shanklin. Don't you love that word, Imelda Shanklin? She has one of the finest authors I know of, and she has written a book called What Are You? And the last chapter on that book is about non-resistance. I had a teacher one time that said, Pat, if you have a problem, I want you to put the book next to your bed, and I want you to read that chapter for 30 days. I did. The problem no longer existed. So I'm not inviting you to do that. 30 days is a lot, but it's a fabulous chapter as well. In her chapter on non-resistance, she writes, non-resistance is not submissive to evil. It is the refusal to see evil as power, one presence, one power, God. When you are non-resistant, you meet the storm with calmness, and the storm loses its power to disturb you. She reminds us that outer conditions is never the problem. It's our inner interpretation of the problem. When we choose calmness and love, the storm itself begins to be quiet. I want to share a couple of quotes from her book that was very helpful to me. She writes, somewhere in here, she writes, non-resistance is stronger than resistance. Its practice requires more mind capacity than is required for resistance. Its appeal is to the divine thing in you. It is the essence of God. Also, one other quote I want to share, and this one has meant a lot, especially I've shared with people that has come to me for counseling before about relationships. Relationships, sometimes they're challenging, right? Right, okay. So when you are non-resistant toward your good runs to meet you. I have found that I never win until I become willing to do without the trophy. willing to do without her, willing to do without him, willing to do without the car, willing to do without whatever you're seeking. I want to read that sentence again. When you are non-resistant toward your good runs to meet you. I have found that I never win until I become willing to do without the trophy. I have learned to say to whatever seems worth having, if you do not want me as much as I want you, I do not want you at all. I can do without you and sorrow not, but I will welcome you if you come. Take your choice. It does not matter to me. This declaration, or any declaration of similar spirit, must be wholly sincere, or confusion and disappointment will follow its use. Sincerely avow that is worthwhile responds. What is not worthwhile fades from consciousness. In other words, we can declare that all we want, but until we really mean it in our heart, we're not fooling anybody, including ourselves. Emmett Fox talks about non-resistance. He says, you cannot fight your way into heaven. The moment you cease to fight and instead radiate love, you are in the kingdom. Fox saw Jesus' commandment as turn the other cheek as metaphysically instruction. It means to turn away from the reaction and turn towards the Christ within. It's not a physical thing. It's about change your mind. Change your mind and turn to the Christ within. It's a call to live from the divine center, not from the ego's demand for justice or revenge. In the 1960s, Dr. Martin Luther King and countless civil rights leaders practiced nonviolent resistance, a form of spiritual non-resistance. They did not fight hate with hate. They met hatred with love, even when it meant suffering. As he says, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Non-resistance is active, it's not passive. And when we respond to anger and fear or political tension with love, we break cycles of conflict. Love is transformative power. Non-resistance allows divine energy to flow through us, creating peace even in chaos. Mr. King, Dr. King says, we must meet physical force with soul force. Their non-resistance became the most powerful force for the transformation of American history because it was rooted in love, not fear or resistance. In our gatherings for peace, we are not resisting the other side. We are standing for love. We are standing for compassion. We're standing in peace for divine order. Non-resistance invites us to hold sacred space for transformation rather than trying to control the outcome. When we stop pushing against what we fear, we create an energetic space where spirit can work miracles. I release the need to fight or control. I release the need to fight or control. Let's affirm that together. I release the need to fight or control. I rest in the flow of divine order. Together. I rest in the flow of divine order. Nothing and no one is against me. Together. Nothing and no one is against me. God is the one power and one presence in my life. God is the one power and one presence in my life. So this week, I would like for you to do something. Notice where you push against life. Just notice it. Where do I push against life? Where do I push against people? Where do I push against politics? Where do I push against situations? Where do I push against myself? Don't judge it. Just simply observe it. Pause and breathe. And when you feel resistance rise, take one conscious breath and silently affirm, I let go and I let God. I let go and I let God. Before responding to a news story or a conversation about politics, ask, am I reacting from fear or am I responding with love? Where do I still feel the need to fight and defend? What might it look like to stand in peace and trust God instead? And this is a good one for me. Each day, send thoughts of blessing to someone with whom you disagree. Practice non-resistance as love in action. Peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the presence of love. Non-resistance is not surrendering to the world, it is surrendering to God within, to spirit within. And when we live from that awareness, we become instruments of divine peace in a world that longs for healing. How do you like that assignment this week? Just notice, don't judge it like I do so often. And it's a practice. That's why we call it unity, practical metaphysics, practical spirituality, is because we practice. So this week, just practice, my dear friends, noticing, where do I resist? Where do I resist? I've got my areas that I resist big time. And I know that in order to change the world, it will not be through resistance. It will be through love. Love. As Emmett Fox would say, there's nothing in the world that love will not heal. And for that, we are grateful. Okay, let's practice non-resistance this week. I love you, I bless you, and I behold the Christ in you. And so it is. Amen.